Finally, it's arrived. Season 2 of Netflix's The Umbrella Academy. Now, let's see how dramatic this is, and hopefully I don't break my camera. This is going to have minor spoilers for Season 1 just in case you haven't seen that first season. After Vanya goes wonky and launches a chunk of the moon towards Earth, Number 5 grabs the entire family and teleports them to safety. The only problem is now they're a little separated from each other and the world is still in danger. Oh, and they're also in the 1960s. The timeline at the beginning of Season 2 could be a little complex and it could be a little hard to follow, but they make it really simple. They lay it out really nicely and they catch us up to certain events going on. And so we feel like, you know what, we haven't missed a beat, and it picks up right from where Season 1 leaves off. Now, while we don't get Hazel and Cha-Cha in this season, we do have some other villains who look like they came straight out of the Village of the Damned. They're called the Swedes, but really they remind me a whole lot of the Unnamed from Cycle 3 of Dark. Now, just like in Season 1, the soundtrack in this season is still so spot on. I love all the new renditions of songs as well as the original versions that they sprinkle throughout the show. And it really helps to add just feeling, emotion, matching exactly what we're seeing on the screen, tone for tone, and really just, it fits so well. I gotta go find out now if there's a Season 2 playlist on Spotify so I can binge that. This season retains a lot of the dark whimsy that the first season had that made it so much fun. There are more quirks and we're introduced to some new characters which add a whole new level of interest for our heroes. Now, I don't know if it's present in the comic series or the graphic novel series, but in this season, there is a social commentary going on that is outstanding. Because this season is taking place in the 1960s, we get to see inequality at work. And some of it just helps to reinforce how little we have progressed in some of our issues, and especially when it comes to treating people fairly and like humans. Except for Five and Klaus, who have already done some time travel, the rest of the Umbrella Academy hasn't. And so this season brings a whole new, just a fish out of water scenario for all of them. And so it stretches them and it really puts pressure on the characters themselves to figure out what's going on and to navigate their new surroundings, which also leads to a whole lot of story fun and just the interactions between the characters themselves and their surroundings. I felt that we got a lot of character development in Season 1, but somehow they managed to put even more into this season. We get to see new facets and new aspects of our characters, and it's almost like we're growing along with them as they discover new things about themselves or as they just learn to work together. I mean, we're right there along for the ride, and it just helps to build so much more well-rounded characters that are easy to root for. The family dynamics are still just as jacked up as they were before, but I feel that there's more on the line in this season. Like, it has amped up everything. And so it's just more crucial that they get along, that they learn to work as a team and solve the problems before them. And that really then goes to highlight the spectacularness of the ensemble. And they work so well together and they're absolutely convincing in their roles. I mean, you really feel like they could be a family, like that they have truly spent a really long amount of time with each other. And so they know how to tweak each other. They know how to push all the buttons, but they also know that they can count on each other when the chips are down and everything matters. It also makes for some really fun and awkward family dinners. The Ben and Klaus dynamic is super. They have such great chemistry together, and we get to see a lot more interaction, I felt, in this season than we did in the first. I mean, we got some in the first, but this one, there is a lot more banter, there is a lot more interaction, just talking and acting together, and they worked really well. And really, they do get some wonderful scenes together that really get to stretch them as actors maybe, or at least stretch them as characters, and we get to see how great they really are. Now, I mentioned we do get some new characters in this, and Lila is one of them. She is a sort of companion to Diego, and she complements his character so well. She is just as fierce, just as snarky, and a little off also. And so they are a great match. Kate Walsh is back as the handler, and she has a larger role this season. And I liked her. I thought she brought just a sarcastic wit and just a craziness to her character. And she is probably psychotic. And you really get to see that come through in her. We get so much more from her, and she's a lot of fun. The action and cinematography do a really good job of sucking us in with all of the visual interest. And because this takes place in the 1960s, the set design, the costumes, everything about it feels genuine, and it really does transport us to that time. Because this is based on a comic series, the action and the violence reflect that. I mean, we have blood spurts and explosions, but all of the violence is stylistically done. I mean, so that when there is gore, it still looks cool. I think too, the special effects in this work really well. I mean, they look great and they complement the whole comic book feel without it being like cheap or cheesy. While I loved the first season, I think the story in the second season is so much more compelling and urgent. I mean, I was sucked in right from the very get-go. The family dynamic is really what is driving this. And it's not just because they're all together, like sitting around the table and having that. It's all them separated and having to try and get back to each other and work out their problems from distance, even though they're kind of in the same geolocation. Each of them is on their own journey, and they're not always on the same track or the same path. I mean, they don't always have the exact same goal. Each of them is struggling with their own things, and it really comes across in this. And I think that's what drew me in to the story and made me connect so well with the characters. I mean, I already liked the characters from season one, but when you combine it with the story of this one, that I just was like, oh, okay, I gotta keep watching. Each episode is packed with story, but not so much though that it's like cramped or that it feels rushed, like they're trying to get through so much that they're just speeding through and just stumbling over themselves or skimming over a lot of stuff and keeping it surface level. Each arc really does get its opportunity to breathe and develop. And I like that sometimes the story is focusing on the larger story and then we'll hone in onto a character for parts of an episode. And you can see how that does then tie back in to the larger picture and the larger story at hand. There are 10 episodes and they were able to put in some unexpected surprises, which became a lot of fun. One thing that I really enjoyed in this was they were able to put some visual references to other movies or shows within. Now, they weren't like just blatant in your face. I mean, if you knew what they were referencing, then it was very obvious, but they didn't have to call it out. I mean, there is a scene straight out of Snatch, and then there's also a scene where they're using some elements from Fight Club. And in both instances, they totally fit what was going on. It doesn't feel like it was, oh, hey, we have this thought. This would be kind of cool. Let's put this in. No. It fits exactly with what's going on, and it's seamless. For me, the climax was very exciting and unexpected. And so it left me like mouth watering for season 3. So if you enjoyed season 1 of The Umbrella Academy, I do not know how you cannot be wanting or already binging season 2. There's not really any sex, no nudity, some profanity, and a whole lot of violence. I give season 2 of The Umbrella Academy 5 out of 5 couches. So do you have a favorite member of the Hargreeves family? Let me know who that is in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.